Hi everybody, Lisa here, and today on my workbench I will be working on a MacBook 8202936. It is a model 1278. This unit came in not powering on. Customer indicated they were getting a red X through the battery um, symbol, and it stopped charging, and then it just stopped powering on. So they dropped it off and asked me to take a look at it. So I already removed the board from the housing, and I was just going through to look for anything that was noticeable, like liquid damage, any type of corrosion, and I didn't see anything like that. Um, then I went through to check my power rails. Now, let me get my charger here. Now, get you on camera here. Now I am getting a green um, light on the charger. Let me turn off my light here. All right. So I'm getting a green light on the charger. So I know I'm getting power to the board. So I know my one wire circuit is working. I know I'm getting voltage on my PP G3 hotline because that line has to always be present. Um, so I know these two are working. Then I went through and checked my PP5, 5V line, my PP1V8 line, and my PP, was it, uh, 3V42 line, and I'm getting all the proper voltage readings on those rails, but I was not getting anything on my PP 3V3 line. Now, this has nothing to do with the battery sensing circuit, because when they indicated that they were getting an X through the battery and working on these in the past, I know that's the battery sensing circuit, but because I'm not getting my anything on my PP V3 line. I want to get that resolved first before I go on to the battery sensing line. Um, so what I did was I went through the board, and like I says, I looked for any type of corrosions. Didn't see anything, but I did go through and looked in the areas where it's been common that components do get knocked off. Now, I'm not sure. The customer says that this board might have been worked on in the past. They're not sure. They bought it used, but they think it was in for some sort of repair. So I went through the board, and I did notice that I am missing a capacitor. So let me switch you to my uh, microscope view here. Let me turn off this. There. All right. So let me bring you down to where I notice a missing component. And right here, let's see, is the capacitor that I'm missing. Now, this is the PP3V3 line, and this is what I'm missing. So I looked up the schematic, and this is a zero point 0.1 microfarad capacitor. It's in the family of the 402 family, so it's a ceramic type of capacitor. I have plenty of those laying around. So what I'm going to do is add this guy back in, and then I'm going to go and troubleshoot the battery sensing line. So what I'm going to do is I already have the capacitor picked out. All right. Just move him over here. All right, just in view. Yep. All right, so let's just add some flux down here. Now there's a couple ways you can add the component, either with a solder iron or with the hot air. So I'm just going to do a quick hot air um, method. So, right. Just start heating up the board. See on camera right now. capacitor's in place, so let's clean that up. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, nice and clean. So now let's plug in the fan and see if we can get a fan spin here, because I was not getting a fan spin, of course, with the line missing. So let's plug in the fan. All right, and let's switch you back to the camera view now. All right, there we go. And when I plug in the charger, we should see a fan spin. There we go. All right, so now that I got my PP3V3 line back, let's just get the voltmeter here. And, right, black on ground. I got my red probe here, and I'm getting 3.30. So I know I got my line back. So that resolved that issue. All right. So now let's just unplug this. All right. Now I'm going to pull up the schematic here, and all right. This was my PP3V3 line, and this was the capacitor that was missing. So this up here. So this guy was missing. So, and then these lines indicate where else that this component ties into. So, so that's resolved. So now let's go up to the battery sensing line, and let's go all the way up here. All right, so now this is the battery sensing line, and I'm going to look and see if I have my PP3V42 line. So let's get this back. Let's bring the board up. All right, and let's go back to here. All right, switch you to the microscope. And all right, now here is the battery sensing line. So let me, all right, and I'm going to check, let's see, let's bring up the schematic, and pin 2 here is my PP3V42 line. So let's see if we have that rail present. So let's plug in the power supply. All right, and let's get the probe on ground, and let's test pin 2. And I'm getting 3.48. So I'm getting 3. That rail is working. So I'm getting 3.48, which is good. So now I'm going to test the clock chip and then the data chip, and it's these two chips right here. So the SDA line is the data line, and the SCL line is the clock line. Okay, so we're going to start testing the components on the data sensing line. Like I said, we're going to test the 2 resistors on the data line and the clock line, and I'm going to test that in diode mode. So I got my meter set on diode mode, and I'm going to put my red probe on ground and my black on the clock line and the data line. And I'm getting 0.31. So that's telling me that this is good. And on the clock line, on the SCL line, I'm getting 0.319. And this is telling me that this one is good as well. Now, what I have noticed in the past, I've worked on a similar board like this, and I would get the three uh, let's see, the PP 3V42 line, but once I plugged in the connector, the line would short out. So I noticed that, not noticed, but then I would, not blame this board. I went to the board that plugs into it, the actual sensing board. And let me get it real quick here. What I've noticed in the past is that these boards actually can fail as well. So let me get this underneath the camera here. Let's get up my side camera. There we go. So this guy sits on the side of the laptop, and it has some LED lights on here, and this is what senses your battery and how much power you have left on it. And I've actually had these boards fail. And so when I noticed this board, I was getting the proper voltage, the clock line, data line was working just fine. I went to this board and I noticed that, let's get it, let's switch it to the microscope here. And let's zoom out. All right. And we're going to look at this circuit here. All right. Let's bring it in. All right. There we go. And let's just start testing some of these components here. So all right. Just from looking at this board, I can see that there is some corrosion. Looks like someone has been in here before because this looks a little melted here. Let's see, how clear is it on the... There we go. A couple of these capacitors don't look, looks like they've seen better days. This one looks pretty nasty. This one looks nasty. This one looks pretty nasty. Oh, let's get him on camera. There we go. This one looks nasty. So let's get a reading on these capacitors here. So again, I got my meter set in diode mode, but this is set now in continuity test. So let me get this on ground and test this side. No, this side's good. I gotta get a good ground here. All right. This one is showing short. This one is showing good. This one is showing good. See, I'll show you exactly what I am talking about. So let's flip back to my camera here, and I'm going to plug in this board. All right. Now my PP342 line is going to come here on my on this side of the resistor here. So when I plug it in, I should be getting PP342. All right, so let's plug in the power supply. Well, first let's unplug it, and I'll show you again that it's unplugged, and plug in the adapter here. All right, got the green light going. Fan is spinning. So let's set this to voltage. All right, so we're on a good ground, and just slide this down so I can see it on camera here. All right, so I'll switch you to the microscope. And so this is the rail I'm going to be testing, and on the power supply I'm getting 3.48 like I got earlier. So now what I'm going to do is plug in this battery sensing circuit. Unplug this guy first. So let's plug in this guy. Just snap him in and plug it in. All right. Fan is spinning. And now let's test the voltage. Zero volts. I'm getting 0 volts, so it's shorting out. So the fault is actually not on the main board itself. Let's go back to the camera. The fault, it's not actually on this board at all. It's actually on this little circuitry board here, the battery sensing circuit that sits on the side of the laptop, and it's like the indicator of what your battery's, how much battery you have left. So I ran into, I'm going to say two other units like this. And the third one was the actual, I was missing the PP3V42 line on this actual battery sensing line. But the other two, it was actually this guy that was the actual culprit. So I do have a spare, so let me go grab that guy just to make sure that this was good. Hold on. All right, so here's the new circuit, battery sensing circuit. So what I'm going to do is plug it in. All right. And then plug in the power supply again. All right. Green light, still getting the fan spin. And now let's take the measurement. All right, let's go to ground, and let's go back to the microscope. Oh, we got to get this on camera here. There we go. And now I'm going to check the data line again. And at this point, I should be getting 3.42 between 3.42 to 3.48 voltage, and that's what I'm getting. So yeah, so this board actually had a couple things wrong with it. One, I was missing my PP3V3 line. A capacitor was knocked off, and then resolved that. And then the second one was the battery sensing line, where they were getting the red X in the battery, and actually it was not the board itself. The main board, it was actually the logic board here, that was causing the problem. There was a shorted capacitor. It did look like it had some water damage, liquid damage inside. So yeah, so this was a successful repair. I hope you learned something, and until next time, take care. Okay, now that I've got the MacBook Pro reassembled, I just want to show you that it is powering on. And as you can see on the upper right hand corner here, that red X has been removed, so that error was corrected, and that it is charging. So if I plug in the charging port, now I do see the indicator here, which is the little lightning bolt symbol, so it is telling me that the battery is now charging. Now I'm just going to do a recap on what was wrong with this model. Again, this was board 8202936, and there was a couple issues with it. The first issue was on my PP3V3 rail, I was getting no voltage. Went through the circuit board, and I noticed component, it was a capacitor 5411 wasn't there. I'm not sure if it was knocked off or it wasn't replaced when it was under when it had a prior repair to it. And then the second issue, which was causing that red X to appear on the battery, was the battery sensing line. And what was happening was on the PP3V42 rail, I was getting the voltage, and I was getting the proper 3.48 voltage on the data line and the clock line. But I'm going to show you right here, there's an actual a secondary circuitry that plugs into the main board, and it sits right along here. And when I press this button here, these LEDs light up, and this shows you the strength of your battery. And this is the battery sensing circuit, like a secondary circuitry here that plugs into the main board. And what was happening was, when I would plug that board back in, I would lose my PP3V42 rail. It would go down to 0 volts. So I went on the side there, removed the board, that little PC, the battery sensing board, and took some voltage readings. Well, when I removed it, there was corrosion. So there was some sort of liquid damage that happened there. And one of the capacitors were shorted out, and a couple of them, I was getting good readings, but they just looked a little weird, like they were corroded, but they were still getting the proper readings. So unfortunately, because I don't have an actual schematic for this guy, let's bring him on the camera here, I couldn't just replace the shorted capacitor because I don't know its known value, and you just can't throw anything in there. So I replaced it with a known good working one, and as soon as I did that, I plugged this back into the main board, and now I was getting my PP3V42 rail, and my clock and data lines, I was getting my 3.8 voltage. So yeah, so this was a successful repair, and all I need to do now is just go through and just reassemble the rest of the screws and put the back on, and then just notify the customer that that their unit is ready for pickup. So yeah, so again, I hope you learned something from this repair, and until next time, bye.